It's a violation of U.S. law.
The U.S. law, I'll tell you what, according to the Vienna Convention on the Law of Treaties.
The point you're making is about perhaps a larger mentality. The point that you're
according
making is
to the UN Convention on the Law of Treaties.
This particular case in point, in the term, in the wake of facts, is heavily tilted against your argument.
Because America is a signatory to the Vienna Convention.
No,
so
and not just
America being a signatory to the Vienna Convention,
Vienna
it specifies clearly where the Vienna Convention supersedes their laws.
No, Lord Meghnad Desai, US law doesn't apply to an Indian citizen employed by the Deputy Consul General of India.
It's a human rights issue. It's not a Vienna Convention issue. It's a human rights issue.
It is not a human rights issue.
How come you've not spoken about human rights when the US diplomat shot two Pakistani? Where were human rights then, Lord Desai? Why didn't you speak about it then?
Just a minute. Just a minute.
Come on, answer that question.
Look, she went there of her own will. She signed an agreement with the External Affairs Ministry that she would be given free food, free housing, free medical treatment, air passages, free clothing, and a salary deposited in a bank in India. She went of her will. She wrote in her own diary that she was very happy. Lord Desai, you should do better than that. And in any case, India is observing the provisions of a treaty it has signed. The United States is not. Please get that clear before you go jumping around helping your fellow
Human rights are human rights. Human rights are human rights, and nobody should be ill-treated even by their fellow citizens.
Lord Meghnad Desai, which domestic help in India earns 30,000 rupees per month plus $200? No Indian servant domestic help gets that kind of money, and she was getting it regularly, and there is proof for that. How can you say it is human rights violation? How can you say it is human rights violation when she herself has said she is happy? She said she doesn't have much work to do.
Nobody should be ill-treated. Nobody's human rights should be violated.
Can she prove that claim? Has she proved that claim? Has she proved that claim?
Has
she proved that claim?
Okay. Lord Meghnad
Not about Vienna Convention.
Are you trying to say that the government of India...
Let us wait for the judgment. Let us wait for the judgment.
Your word against the others, Lord Meghnad Desai. Let's get in Veena Sikri. Veena Sikri, your question to Lord Meghnad Desai.
No, my point to Lord Meghnad Desai is a very simple one.
Let me say. There is one similarity between Lord Meghnad Desai and Preet Bharara. Both have found Devyani guilty without talking to her.
I think that
this is the problem with Dr.
I think that the whole basis of international relations, the whole basis of relationship between countries is governed by certain conventions. When you are a signatory to the convention, that convention supersedes your national laws.
I've been involved with human rights cases. I've been involved with cases of torture. So I know what happens.
The point I am making is, Lord Meghnad Desai, the point I am making is that when you are a signatory to an international convention like the Vienna Convention, you accept that that convention supersedes your national laws in the specified areas in the convention where you have signed. So that is why in this case, since the Vienna Convention is applicable, there is no violation that has taken place by the diplomatic or the consular officer in this case. It is clearly specified. If there is a perception of a violation, then it needs to be discussed between the states. And that is where the discussion with the State Department comes in. And that is where Preet Bharara's statement is completely silent on one point. It is a defensive statement. It talks entirely about her treatment on par with Americans, but nothing about her status as a diplomat. So that is the problem.
Well, you've got a lot to plead. Lord Meghnad Desai. Yes, please. Your response.
This is a question of human rights which overrides all conventions. Universal Declaration of Human Rights overrides all conventions. No convention.
Why is this selectively applicable, Lord Desai? Why is this selectively applicable? Why is this selectively applicable? Why is this selectively applicable?
Tell us so.
Why is this selectively applicable?
I think.
Why are you applying it only in the case of Sangeeta Richard?
And
that too without proof, without any facts in place.
The fundamentals of diplomacy.
So isn't Dr. Devyani Khobragade a human being? Is it okay to treat her like that? And then forget about human rights?
And the lower classes. I care about
You can be as animated as you want, Lord
Let
Meghnad
me answer
Desai,
Lord
but the fact is, she has not proved, there is no proof that puts in front that she was ill-treated. But there is enough and more proof that's been put out that she was happy. She herself has stated that, Lord Desai.
I have seen the indictment. Let us wait for the court case.
You have seen only one side of the story and made your decision.
Let the New York court try. Let the New York court try Devyani Khobragade.
Why should New York court try? Because Sangeeta Richard first should be tried in India. She should be brought back because there is a non-bailable warrant against her that was ignored. The Indian judicial system was mocked at. And why was that allowed to do? And why should anybody allow that to do? How can you also say that that was okay to be done? There was a non-bailable warrant against Sangeeta Richard. How was she allowed to be evacuated? And they say they evacuated her. What kind of duress was her family in? Is there any proof to these claims?
Her human rights were
I want to add one thing. Lord Desai, please give me a minute.
Just like you're saying a human rights are violated and she was treated, let us say that she is not the victim here, Dr. Devyani Khobragade is. I can continue saying that like you are, and I can be all the more animated, Lord Desai. That doesn't make a point. The fact is, we are putting out the facts.
Just a minute.
We talk about the facts. Preet Bharara is making empty statements. He himself says that there are legal cases pending against Sangeeta Richard. And that, despite that, the Indian law, the Indian judicial system was overlooked.
Let justice be done.
Let me say one thing. I am surprised that a member of the House of Lords should be as ignorant of diplomacy as Lord Desai. Lord Desai says that the Universal Declaration of Human Rights overrides every treaty a country signs. Sorry, in terms of international law, a declaration can never override a treaty. Please understand international law before you come to such discussions, Dr. Desai, and don't pontificate.
Ambassador Kurt Walker.
That's the reality of law.
Can I just say one more thing from the U.S. point of view?
Yes, Ambassador Walker.
The U.S. is adhering to the Vienna Convention. Now, there may be some disputes as to how it is applied, but let me give you an example. When I was ambassador to NATO, we had a driver, we had a cook, we had 2 maids, we had a valet, and every single one of them was employed according to Belgian labor law. Now, whether or not you would argue that we had to do that according to the Vienna Convention, as a matter of practice, we had to do that in order to live effectively in Belgium, to have the people there able to exercise their rights. And we didn't object to that as a country. So the Vienna Convention is a foundational document upon which the practice of international relations is built over another 150 some years. In the case of the woman in New York.
I'll answer the ambassador. It is true that all rich developed countries in Europe employ the locals. Developing countries, including India, cannot afford that. We bring in our own people and pay them according to our rates. So that is true, not just in the United States. Right. It is true across Europe. It is true across in Australia, where I come from. It's true across the world. Between the developed and developing countries,
the issue here that's being investigated,
there is this difference in how we conduct diplomacy.
Right. The issue that's being investigated is whether the conditions of the maid's employment were misrepresented to the U.S. government when issuing her visa, because we would not have issued a visa if she was going to be employed in conditions that we would not find legal in the U.S. And so that's what's being checked out.
Absolutely. So where does the
woman,
fault lie?
the maid,
If that was
has
the
made
argument,
these accusations.
Ambassador Walker, where does the fault lie in the first place?
Yeah.
You've basically defeated your own argument.
The fault would lie
of your own
in issuing, right. If a visa application was misrepresenting the terms of employment, then it would lie with the people who made that misrepresentation. And that's what's being, as I understand, accused and investigated. But again, I'm willing to withhold judgment and say, let's get the facts. There should be an investigation. Yes. We should have done a better job up to now. But
the visa could have been given on the basis of the exact facts of the money she was getting, but maybe the visa was given without looking at the, without objecting to the statement of the employer-employee contract that was appended with the visa application.
All right,
or maybe this is common practice, Ambassador Walker. Or maybe this is common practice, just like you said, that you know, Vienna Convention is the bedrock, but you have to respect the laws of some of the countries that you are in. In that way, do the US immigration officials generally turn a blind eye to about the 194 consulates that are there and who have employments? So there is a contract and an affidavit just for the statute, and then there are other contracts that are paid, and everybody knows about it. So if everybody knows about it and everybody is doing it, what did Dr. Devyani Khobragade do wrong?
No, that we've had many cases of diplomats from many countries having employed domestic employees or even enslaved domestic employees that have been investigated and pursued aggressively in the U.S. I'm sure there are cases that have been missed, but the principle is that when we learn about that, we do want to investigate it. The best question, though, is how do you do that? And we've tried to do it by approaching the governments and countries involved to resolve it before it gets to the point of trying to make an arrest.
Yes, but in this case, that was not done. I think that is the basic point in India that has caused so much hurt. She was treated very poorly without giving her a diplomatic right. And the basic consultation between India and the US, which should have been done, our foreign secretary was in Washington. There could have been direct contact with the ambassador in Washington.
You know, Maruf, there has been a little bit of a history to this. I mean, if you were to look at this case in point, one can perhaps have, various points of view. But what about the cases prior to this case? You have had, our former president, APJ Abdul Kalam, then, of course, Mr. Hardeep Puri, who was subjected to a pat-down.
Even George Fernandez
George
as defense
Fernandez.
minister.
There's a history to the way America is treating Indian citizens.
Ambassador, sir, you've very ably defended the American position, but I think, the ground reality is a bit different. And the ground reality is that, America's wanting to engage with countries like India, as Mr. Parthasarathy has rightly brought out, that the salary wages paid in India as compared to your earning, your per capita income, your ability to pay in the United States is completely at variance with a country like India. Now, if this is the stance that America is going to take, I think there is a bigger issue that is not being addressed right now. But I think America is putting itself into a spot in its relationship with various other countries in the developing world where America recognizes, for instance, India as an important element to its pivot to Asia. American foreign policy, I mean, if India then, if this goes to the next level, and this is the first time in a long, long time, all of us have seen all political parties in India come together and take this kind of a stand. And if tomorrow push comes to shove, America's relations with India go back to what they were in the 60s and 70s, you will have a lot of strategic loss to bear with. Because we can live without you, but I don't know if America can live without us in the changing dynamics of the world, particularly in Asia.
Right.
Because India feels right now that there are several other issues that we've stood to lose out with, because we've stood by with the Americans. Look what you've done, tossed us around in Afghanistan. Look what you've done in our relationship with Iran.
Right.
And now you've gone for a rapprochement, and we are going to be at the receiving end. So I think there are many bigger issues that are going to come out of this Pandora's box. And this, as a foreign secretary in India,
gentlemen and the lady with us,
to say, just let me complete,
we are running out of time on this debate, Maruf.
As a foreign secretary
we are running out of time, so quickly wrap up, please.
As the Foreign Secretary said, this has been happening in the past. This has been happening in the past with connivance of consular and visa officials. This is not the first case. Let us put a graceful end to it as soon as possible.
Well, Ambassador Walker, Lord Meghnad Desai, Mr. G. Parthasarathy, Veena Sikri, and of course, Maruf Raza. Thanks a lot for joining us on this debate on the News Hour.